What's up? Tyler from Plugged On. I'm here with my end of the year top 15 albums of 2018. This has been a very awesome year for metal in my opinion. Lots of great releases and I've decided to change some things up a little bit by now. You might have seen our honorable mentions slash disappointments video where, like I said, I made a top 25. In that video I shared a lot of my honorable mentions that did not make the top 15. I just wanted to mean a little bit more rather than just doing, a top 20 or top 25 and have almost everything on there. I want this list to have a little bit more meaning. That's not to say, like I said, there was a lot of awesome albums this year that I thoroughly enjoyed. And without further ado, why don't we just get into it? And coming in at number 15, I have Revocation with The Outer Ones. Revocation has delivered another great album in their very, great career at this point. And what I like about this one is just it's got a lot of balance to it, of very catchy vocals by David Davidson and incredible riffs, heaviness, shreddiness, doing what Revocation does, but taking it to what I think is an awesome level. As soon as Of Unworldly Origin starts, you just crank it up and throw your horns up in the air, because that's just such a banging riff that has one of my favorite guitar solos of the entire year, and that I've had that solo stuck in my head so many times. And then, what I like is when Revocation does some kind of weird stuff. The Outer Ones is a great example of that, with some very strange riffage. But then I also love when they get heavy as fuck. The Outer Ones is a great example of that. That Which Consumes All Things is another one, which is really great. Blood Atonement is one that's great for atmosphere. I really also think the final track of Starless Darkness is a great standout song on here. It's overall just an extremely solid Revocation album. Number 14, let's go to the top of my list here. I have Tremonti with A Dying Machine. This is an album that I just found myself coming back to a lot this year, and it's Tremonti, Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge or Creed fame, the guitar player of those bands, and this is his side project. I think this is my favorite Tremonti album, and there's a lot of just really great songs in here. What I like about what he's doing is, one, I like his voice. I've always enjoyed his voice in Alter Bridge a lot, and I always wish they would have used him more. I know Miles Cannon needs to stand out in that band, but Tremonti has a great voice, and so I like hearing that, and I think this is his best vocal performances on this. Songs like From the Sky is phenomenal with that chorus. A Dying Machine is one that I really like. The First, the Last, As Silence Becomes Me. He really delivers some powerful vocals on this one. But then also, I like the guitar riffage on here a lot. I just like hearing his solo work and what he comes up with. And a lot of these riffs are riffs that, really might not work for an Alter Bridge record. Kind of like, Throw Them to the Lions, Bringer of War, more thrashier stuff. But then there's also, some very beautiful songs on here. I love the second to last track, Desolation. I think is one of the strongest ones on here. Take You With Me is more of a poppier song that I think works really well. And the First to Last is a great, more radio ballad that I think is good. It's overall a really consistent rock album, in my opinion. Next up, what a shift here. Immortal with Northern Chaos Gods. What a return to form for these guys. I mean, in a way, a more return to their earlier black metal roots, more raw sound, and they really pulled no punches coming straight out, starting the record off with the title track, Northern Chaos Gods, which I love that song, and just how it just totally rips apart everything. And, every time that song comes on, I just get really fired up. The riffage on that song's great, and every time they're going, Northern Chaos Gods, obviously, I can't scream worth shit, but it's fucking badass. But then there's other really just awesome, just grimy riffs on here. Grim and Dark is one of my favorite. Called to Ice. Of course, you cannot talk about this album without mentioning the epic finale with Mighty Raven Dark. What an awesome track. I love, even though they have that more raw punch to this, more aggression, more energy than they've had the past few albums, in my opinion. Mighty Raven Dark is, you know, Immortal doing their epic Immortal black metal tracks that they've always done, you know, and they nail it, in my opinion. That song is so phenomenal all the way through. It's a great record. Number 12, I have Light the Torch with Revival. So this album grew on me a lot more over time, and since I reviewed it as well, which I think I've reviewed just about every one of these albums on here. Maybe there's 2 or 3 on here, but anyways, this album grew on me a lot, and I think this is a great comeback in a way for this band, because, you know, they had all the complications with their drummer and having to change their name from Devil You Know to Light the Torch. And they delivered some incredible songs. I think this is also one of Howard Jones's best vocal performances of his entire career. He does not sound better than this. Tracks like Raise the Dead, which is one of my favorite songs of the year, which has a very crunchy riff mixed with beautiful vocals, a fantastic chorus. Calm Before the Storm is the big hit on here, which, you know, I think has a lot of great energy and vibes in it, especially the middle section, which I think is very beautiful. Die Alone is a great way to start the album off with just a punch of an awesome riff from Francesco. The Safety of Disbelief, The Bitter End is one that has an awesome chorus and a very crunchy riff as well. They kind of simplified a little bit, so, you know, there is the heaviness here, but heaviness in a more simple way, a little bit more simple riffs, and I think in the end it does work out a little bit more. Number 11, I have Tribulation with Down Below. This is an album I believe I did not review, that came out very early in the year, January, I believe. I really enjoy this album. This is an album that I just kind of lose myself in every time I listen to it. You know, as soon as the lament starts, it just gets me fired up, you know, because that riff is awesome. I love the lead that they have over top of it. I just love the entire more melodic atmosphere of that. It, like I said before, it fills this hole that Agalloch left to me with Agalloch not being there. I'm not saying Tribulation is exactly like those guys, but they have vibes of that I think really draws me in personally. But then Nightbound is awesome. I love the riffage in that, and I just love the whole energy of it with the drum beat and you know, the guitar riff. It's kind of different for a band like that, you know, and I think they pull it off really well. Lady Death is fantastic. Lacrimosa, Cries of the Underworld are 2 awesome tracks. Lacrimosa in particular has a great opening riff to me. It's just overall just a really complete package that I enjoy a lot. Number 10, an album that is totally different, honestly, but I thoroughly enjoyed. I believe I did not review this one at all either, but Night Flight Orchestra with Sometimes the World Ain't Enough. So Night Flight Orchestra is kind of a side project of Bjorn Strid, singer of Soilwork. And there's also some other members in there. I believe Arch Enemy, the bassist, is in there. What this is something totally different. I swear, if these guys were around in the 70s or 80s, this band would be fucking huge. Because that's what they're pulling off. They're pulling off a more 70s, 80s rock sound that I think works really well. And what I mean by that is, if you listen to, you know, Lovers in the Rain would have been a huge ballad to me back in the day. It's a beautiful song. Sometimes the World Ain't Enough. He's one that just has some good groove to it. And they bring a lot of groove to this. This Time is just a banger of a sing-along track. Turn to Miami, Paralyzed is sexy. One of the sexiest songs I've heard in a long time is Pretty Thing Closing In. It's hot. You know, The Last Independent Romantics is a very awesome 8 to 9 minute track to close the album out. They have a lot of different styles going on in here, and the vocals are awesome. It's just kind of stuff that you can put on and everybody can enjoy. Everybody can really find something out of this because, you know, it's a little bit easier to listen to, but has that energy to it that puts a smile on my face. Number 9. What a shift here, too. Gruesome with Twisted Prayers. This is their second record. Gruesome is a side project of Matt, blanking on his last name, I apologize, the singer of Exhumed. So this is just another death metal project that he has, and this is a lot more death inspired in that the band, Chuck Schuldiner, the very influential death metal band. I love this. And with Death, obviously not making any music anymore, Gruesome filling that hole to me is just awesome. And they really pull off so many awesome moments on here. Inhumane and A Waste of Life are two back-to-back tracks that are just incredible. Inhumane, the way this album starts with Inhumane, the opening riff is just so, you kind of want to be up in the front row right against like the fence at a Gruesome show, just fucking banging your head because it's just so badass. A Waste of Life has some very awesome thrashier moments to it, but then I love the way that song opens up on guitar as well. Fatal Illusions is fantastic. At Death's Door is one of my favorites, and then also the title track with just some of those twisted, weird Chuck Schuldiner type riffs. It's awesome. The vocals are awesome. Everything about it's awesome. It's a great meaty death metal record that I just fucking love. Number 8, Visigoth with the Conqueror's Oath. This is an album that I very much enjoy. Visigoth, they're more of a traditional classic style heavy metal band, and their first album, The Revenant King, is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's fucking sweet. Every track on there. And they also have just, a very fantasy-inspired, throw your swords, shields up in the air, knights, magic, all this cool shit. On the lyric side, Steel and Silver is probably the standout track on here to me. Not only from a riff standpoint, but from a vocal standpoint. It's got a big hook and big chorus. That's about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, so why not? It's cool. Warrior Queen is a hot, more rock and roll track that I think works really well. Outlive Them All is one where you just throw your horns up in the air, do some air guitar, and it's awesome, especially when that chorus comes around. Outlive them all, there can be only one. It's just awesome. Hammer Forged has that crunch to it that I love that Visigoth when they do that stuff. Salt City is a fun track. The Conqueror's Oath, the title track, is a great track to end the album. It's overall just very epic, very fun to listen to. And if you're just more into the traditional heavy metal sound, songs built around riffs with a very powerful vocalist, right up your alley, dude. Number 7, I have Omni by Angra. Angra is a power metal band. Fabio Leone is on vocals for this one, who was formerly Rhapsody of Fire. Angra's been around for a while as well. But what I love about this album is it's definitely my favorite power metal album that I've heard this year. You start the record off with Light of Transcendence, and what a just awesome. It grabs everything that I love about power metal and throws it in this track, because it starts off with an incredible guitar lead that is very power metal inspired, and it just puts a smile on my face every time I hear it. But then it has that just kind of speed sort of riff, and then Fabio's coming in on vocals with just some big vocals. That's the big chorus. It has everything I love about power metal in it. Travelers of Time is an interesting song. It's a little bit different for them, a little bit bouncier vibe, a little bit different style guitar riff that I like. Black Widow's Web is probably the most accessible sing-along track on here. It's got some great female vocals on it. It's just overall a very beautiful song. Insania is interesting. The Bottom of My Soul is a more of a ballady acoustical track that I think really is beautifully done, especially in the vocal department. Another standout track there. War Horns is another, a nice thrasher, and the title track is interesting as well. It's a great power metal package. Yeah, love it. Number 6, I have Skeleton Witch with Devouring Radiant Light. I think this is one of the best examples of a band keeping true to themselves while also totally transforming into something really new and really special to me. Fen of Shadows really sums up everything on this album. I mean, there's a lot of other great tracks which I'll mention, but Fen of Shadows really sums it up. It has this. They put out the EP. They got a new singer. Chance is not in the band anymore. They got a singer from Wolfhammer. Adam, I believe. You know, it starts off more black metal influence than they've ever really had. But then, you know, it gets to the verse, and the verse is one of the most head-banging, incredible heavy metal riffs I've heard all year. And it's simple. It's just simple, open trots and palm mutes, but it's heavy as shit. And that is like the classic Skeleton Witch sound. But, you know, they infuse a lot more melody, a lot more atmosphere into a lot of these songs. And Fender Shadows really sums all that up. It's a beautiful song, and I love it. When Paradise Fades and The Luminous Skies are great examples of, you know, more classic Skeleton Witch sound, of more speed metal influence in there. Temple of the Sun is a great song that I haven't seen Skeleton Witch live off of this album yet, but I can imagine if they play Temple of the Sun, that's a good one because of the very great sing-along chorus that it has. Devouring Radiant Light, the title track, is beautiful, but it has some crunch to it that I love. The Vault, I love the first half of that song. I mean, the whole song's cool, but the first half of that song is beautiful. That song probably has the most melody in it. It's awesome. They really have totally transformed into something really fucking awesome, and honestly way more interesting than their earlier albums, and I like those albums, but this is just absolutely, when I think Skeleton Witch now, it's this. It's not what they've done in the past. It's just me. Number 5. This album is more a little bit personal to me. I'm not necessarily, you know, obviously these are my top 15 albums of the year. I'd love to hear yours. But, and I don't really give a shit, I love this album. Dee Snider, For the Love of Metal. Is there some cheesiness to this? Sure. But Dee Snider, formerly of Twisted Sister fame, man, for his age, he still sounds so fantastic. And in some of these songs, he just really brings it out, man. I Am the Hurricane is a fucking classic. Tomorrow's No Concern, Lies Are a Business have some great thrashiness to it. And he sounds fantastic. American Made is really corny, but very catchy. I'm Ready is another one. Running Mazes has a very cool vocal section in there that's definitely kind of different for him. Mask has one of my favorite choruses. And then you get to, you know, some other ones. Become the Storm and For the Love of Metal are probably my two favorite songs on here. For the Love of Metal, obviously, it brings in a lot of references to a lot of other metal songs, but has some very awesome guitar riff and punch to it. Become the Storm has a lot of beauty to it. I love, I love the verses there. They're very positive to me, and they very much bring some happiness out during that. In the chorus is fantastically well done. And then another really standout song on here is Dead Hearts, Love Thy Enemy, which has Alyssa White-Glue's of Arch Enemy on there, her doing clean vocals. It's such a beautiful ballad, and her intro is beautiful, the chorus, but both of them singing is awesome. When Dee Snider busts in with that first heavy verse, is fantastic. Also has Charlie Belmore on guitar. Jamie Josta helped produce this. It's a hell of a more just classic, very fun album to listen to. It's an album that I constantly find myself coming back to, because it's just got a lot of great sing-along sort of songs, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. Number 4, Alice in Chains with Rainier Fog. Alice in Chains is my favorite band, and I think this is just a very, very incredible album from these guys. The title track is a song that has grown on me so much. Not only do I love the energy of the verses, I love that William Duvall stands out a lot on that song, but that middle part of that track is so beautiful. The One You Know has some very interesting lyrics, and, you know, it has some weird guitar riffs, obviously, opening up. It's not a very... it is, but it's not, because Alice in Chains has always done some very weird stuff, but then that's also not really a riff I could hear Jerry Cantrell writing, but I think it works really well. Brings out the heaviness. I love that Red Giant, it's So Far Under especially, dig back into a little bit more of the grungier, grimier side of Alice in Chains. So Far Under is just... it's fucking heavy. I love it. But then Fly and Maybe and Never Fade, All I Am, those songs are a lot more of the emotional, more melodic side of Alice in Chains that I've very much enjoyed that they've been doing a lot more as of late. And William Duvall, Jerry Cantrell work very well on here. My only gripe is that I wish William Duvall was on here just a little bit more of a, just him. But I still think they put together an incredible album. And, man, I would love if these guys just pulled an Iron Maiden and said, fuck it. 90% of our set is from the past 3 records. Take it or leave it. Because I think there's just so many underrated songs on the past 3 albums, and this one especially, that they probably won't play live because everybody wants to hear Man in the Box and Brewster and Them Bones and all that stuff. And I'm not saying don't play those songs. They're fucking awesome. I love them too. But, man, there's just so many awesome songs and awesome moments on here. All I Am especially is one of my favorite songs of the year. It's my favorite song on this album. It has that very depressing beauty that Alice in Chains can put together. The guitar solo at the end, while short-lived, is beautiful, and just it's the Jerry Cantrell knows the perfect notes all the time, and I love it. So number 3. I will say, these next 3 albums are so close to me, and all year they were constantly going back and forth as my favorite album. So honestly, these next 3 albums, I might have them in an order right now, but any given day, any given week, it could be my favorite album of this year. But these were the 3. Like, to me, there's these 3 albums, and then there's a little bit of a gap until we get to number 4 on down. These 3 albums just were constantly the albums I went back to a lot this year and stuck with me a little bit more. So let's get into it. Number 3, Judas Priest with Firepower. Man, a band this deep into their career, after this many albums, and especially at their age, putting out what is potentially, and someone could argue it, they have so many awesome albums. The best album in their career is fucking mind-blowing to me. And so many just fucking awesome moments on here, from Rising to Ruins of, Rob Halford's epic vocals during the chorus, the awesome guitar solo and guitar harmony in that song, to the best riff on the album of Lightning Strikes, which is such a classic heavy metal riff, just bam, smack to the face to open that out, and to Firepower, which, Rob Halford screaming firepower during the chorus. It's heavy, it's thrashy, it's awesome. You throw your horns up in the air. Evil Never Dies, Never the Heroes is a beautiful song. And then there's, some fun songs on here. Flamethrower, No Wolf, or Lone Wolf. No Surrender is a very short punch to the face as well. Sea of Red is an epic track that I think Rob Halford stands out really well on here. The guitar riffs are awesome. The whole thing is just so perfectly put together. There's not one bad song on here. And it's an album that I just constantly find myself going back to. And when I'm like, I'm not really feeling like some super heavy stuff. I'm not feeling thrashy stuff. Bam, Firepower, Judas Priest. That's why I constantly keep going back to it. It's a perfectly crafted heavy metal album. Number 2, Amorphous with Queen of Time. You talk about another band that's had a long career that, honestly, this is one of the best albums they've done, if not the best. I think absolutely of the most recent run of Amorphous records, this is the best, hands down. Because it kind of has everything. It has that aggression that you love from Amorphous in tracks like The Bee. Daughter of Hate is one that really stands out. Heart of the Giant. There's some really awesome heavier moments on here. Message in the Amber, and it's in the middle section with the big symphonic vocals going on, is beautiful. One of my favorite moments of the year. One of my favorite tracks of the year, if you've seen that video. It has the beauty that I love from Amorphous in tracks like The Bee, Amongst Stars, which has I'm blanking on her name, but female vocals on it that are just so superb on it. The Golden Elk, Message in the Amber, again, it has the beauty, it has the atmosphere. They just took everything to another level, bringing in some more symphonic moments, symphonic sounds, really makes everything stand out. It's the best songwriting they've had. It's just overall the best package that Amorphous has done. And, it's an album that when I think of Amorphous now, this is the album that I constantly go back to. I just, ever since this came out, I haven't listened to anything else from Amorphous really, because I just want to listen to this because I never get sick of a lot of these songs. There's so many smart moments that I constantly just keep picking up every time I listen to it of, oh, I didn't really realize this, or, Heart of a Giant is a great one with that. That I just constantly found myself picking out little new things in that song. Wrong Direction is a great, more just rock jammy track. Amorphous is a song that I'm like, these guys are so fucking good. They should be on the radio. This band should be way bigger than they are, because I do feel that they have that, sing-along nature to them that anybody can enjoy. But then they also just throw in some nice folk elements, some a lot of melodic elements on guitar, but then they can get fucking heavy as shit, and it's awesome. I love this album. I think it's beautiful. But at number one, I guess you could call this my album of the year, if you would like, I have Rivers of Nihil with Where Owls Know My Name. Once again, kind of like I said with Skeleton Witch, this band has grown so much over their 3 albums. Every album better than the last. You listen to this album, then listen to their first album, it is totally night and day. It's incredible how they've totally changed, but still are very much Rivers of Nihil. They still have, some very heavy technical guitar work, but they've infused so many different elements into their sound that is so smart. It's honestly a bold decisions to take, a more technical death metal sound and infuse it with this stuff. Could have been bad if they didn't do it right, but they did it perfectly. You take the Silent Life, Old Nothing, Subtle Change, stuff like that have, some clean vocals on there. Where Owls Know My Name, which has the singer of Black Crown Initiate opening that song up, but still awesome. Throwing clean vocals on here. A Home, another one that's just very well done. And they did these, a lot of the clean vocals over some very soft, kind of dramatic guitar work that I think, fits that. If they did clean vocals over top of something, like a metalcore song or something, I just don't think it would work for these guys. But they were thoughtful and careful about using that, and I think it makes it better in the long run. Adding saxophone to their sound is like, fucking what? The Silent Life is my favorite track of the year. The saxophone part in the middle is awesome. The guitar solo on there is my favorite guitar solo of the year, for sure. I know I said of Unworldly Origin was up there, but that's the song that I constantly had that guitar solo stuck in my head all the time. The vocals are fucking fantastic in that song. The guitar work, every time, you have the intro, drums kind of going crazy, just a lot of chords going on, and then that guitar riff starts all by itself, and it's like, all right, baby, let's go. And then that bam pops in. You have some ultimate heaviness to me. But then there's just some very powerful moments on vocals. The Silent Life is a great example. A Home is awesome. It gets me fired up every time. You'll never call this a home. Like, God, it's so fucking good. Death is Real is another really standout track that's very dark, kind of depressing. Where Owls Know My Name, though, is such a beautiful song. That also incorporates a lot of the heaviness that they have. Old Nothing, I think, is a great song of incorporating, the heaviness that Rivers of Nihil has always done. A lot of just very fast, kind of broken up guitar work, very crunchy, low-tuned riffs. They really bring it all home. And to me, to have a death metal album with kind of just some of these different elements and a little bit more of a different style, I think it's just a very big breath of fresh air for the genre, personally. Don't get me wrong, obviously I had like Gruesome on here. I love straightforward death metal, but to have something just different, something that takes a risk and pulls it off, I think is something that should be praised for sure. And it's an album that I thoroughly enjoy a lot. And I think it's an album that I think, because they've gotten a lot of coverage with this, has taken Rivers of Nile to the next level, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to do next. So yeah, those are my top 15 albums of 2018. Thanks for watching or listening. Very excited to get 2019 rolling. There's already some fucking awesome albums coming out. I am doing a top 12 most anticipated metal records of 2019. Check that out as well. And yeah, we'll be back. Make sure you check out Keith's top albums of the year, or top 10 songs, honorable mentions, and if you're into them, our favorite TV shows, movies, video games. There's a lots of really cool stuff on the channel. Make sure you go check it out. But thanks for watching. We had a fantastic year again on this channel, and love doing it. I'll keep doing it until I can't do it. We'll keep doing it. Fuck it. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.